Welcome back to the Focus Podcast. My name is Misael.
I'm Eli.
And today we are talking with our guest, Nadia Lopez. Yes, we'll go with Nadia. Nadia Lopez. She is currently an ASU student majoring in global studies, and in the past has served as the district youth promoter. Today she is serving as the youth treasurer. Nadia, we're very happy and glad that you could join us this afternoon. Thank you for your time. Thank you for accepting the invitation.
No worries.
All right, well, let's get this started. First of all, go Devils, go Sun Devils. Forks up. Former ASU alum here, so I had to shout that out. But getting into this now. So, with your position now in the district of being the treasurer, correct?
Yes.
So, how did you really get into this role?
Well, I think it's just being around there, like being with the youth, working with them. Originally I started as a adolescentes leader when I was like 14. So I was like the leader of my friend group in church. It was kind of weird. Now that
Official title?
it was an official title because I was like líder de adolescentes, right? Or the juniors, and I was also junior. So, it was kind of like a lot of like exposing to like, be a leader kind of stuff. But I took it very seriously, but to the limits of being a junior, right? And then when I went with the jóvenes, my first year being a joven, I got assigned the role of promotora because there was a necessity, so somebody needed to fill it. And that went on for 2 years.
How old were you?
I was 15.
A little young.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I was 15 when they told me about it, and I was like, sure, yeah. And I knew that if they were considering me, it was like, yeah, there must have been like no one else, right? Because of my age, right? Like, I knew a lot of jóvenes in our presbyterio, and I was like, well, And it's funny because the leaders of the churches that I was like supervising, they didn't know my age until like later. They thought I was like 19 or 20, right? In the meetings, I would text them stuff. They thought I was like, even around my birthday, I never posted like, cause this was like early in the year, my birthday in July. I didn't even post like, oh, I'm 16 now. Like, I didn't post that. I just, happy birthday to me, right? And then in camp, one of the nights that they were like, it was night, and I was with one of the leaders and my parents, and I forgot how the topic came up. I was entering the Iron Horse cabin, and and they were like, Nadia, you're 16? And I'm like, yeah, and I never told them. I didn't want them to find out because I didn't want that to be like, oh, she's little, like, But the good thing is that in that time I had really good leaders. Like, they were really like chill and very understanding. So that didn't make them like change anything. If anything, they just laughed, and they're like, we never thought, we thought you were like the oldest one of your sister and your brother. And I was like, no, I'm actually the youngest. So that went on for 2 years.
And then after that is when you took the treasury position?
Yeah. I was 17. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Where was I? I don't even remember.
You're like, what was I doing in 2004? No. Yeah.
Was that the youngest position? Or the youngest someone is taking it?
Oh, was that a record?
Position?
Well, no, you would think so, but Denise was actually she's like a few months younger than me, if not like a year. So she was secretary, and she was like 16. Okay. So, yeah.
16 when she took that, though, but as a promotor, she was 15.
So the record for the youngest promotor.
Maybe.
For the youngest
Maybe.
Because it's technically still a district position.
Yeah. I don't know the
put
past.
It in history books.
A lot of the. All right.
Might be
Put it in the history books.
Yeah. Let's go to the books. I don't know any past records of promotores. Maybe. Yeah.
So you would say by being already a promotora, that's how the other pastors got their eye on you in order for you to be placed
Yes.
as a treasure?
Yes, well, I feel like in the decision itself, it wasn't really based on the pastors, but I feel like the pastors sort of knew me, at least a few around my area, right? Um, like, like your dad, right? You know, sort of. I already sort of knew a few because of talking to them about their leaders, like asking for information, all this. So I was already a little familiarized with it. I also feel like what really helped me get familiarized with the role and not it be like a sudden like, oh, what do I do? The past treasurer, Daniel, he really helped me. Like, even I feel like it was the second year of being promotora that it was like he would teach me a lot more on things, right? Or he would just be there if I had any question, like he would answer it right away. So and when I got the position, he like mentored me for like a good like 2-3 months or something. Like yeah, and then it got to a point where it's like I understood like again, different chapter in life, you know. So it's like yeah, you got to let people be, right? Because now that I'm where he was, it's like yeah, I would find it a little buggy if like someone kept a year later, right after I'm done with that position in a sense. But he really helped me out a lot. Yeah.
Did you feel ready to take on such a position, or was it intimidating? Because you still already had the 2 years of experience working the district or in a district position. So when you became treasurer, would you say it was intimidating, or did that experience help you?
Well, I wasn't actually ready, you know. I feel like the mentorship helped a lot, but I mean, you can see how our first camp went. I wasn't ready, you know, like to the reality of it, of managing like all that. Um, but I think I was capable enough to like show up to it, but I wasn't ready at first. Like if you're talking about managing and organizing it and the actual work. Yeah.
So now a year removed, how are we feeling now?
Good. I feel like it's more calmer in a sense because you know how it goes the day of, right? Um, I feel like I'm kind of doing this again, and and because it's easier now. There's a lot of room to make or do new things, right? Or simply do things better. Like today, I sent the leaders a registration walkthrough, and it's like I didn't have time to do that last year because, or I don't remember if I did, but it must have not been good, right? Because last year I was too like focused on getting the learning or just doing the basic right. I wasn't gonna go out of my way and do like, oh, you know what, they might need this, so. Let me make a whole video and voice over it right now. Like I didn't have time for that because I was too busy trying to get prepared for just the basic work. Yeah.
I got a question. Or do you have a question?
Are you gonna lose your question?
No, I won't lose my question.
You have less than a year, right? Left in your current position. There are 2 district youth events that are done each year for a total of 4, right?
Yes.
Would you say that with the amount of work you have right now, you're pretty saturated, or do you think you could, because some people say we need more district events, right? That might be an opinion. Do you think it's possible, or is it an easier workload that some might think?
Well, it's possible. It just depends where your priorities are, you know. Because if we're being realistic, we could make an event each month, you know, because we have a pretty good team of like, for example, ushers, worship team. Like we're building something really good, you know, with new people, and we're really like getting strong there. Speakers, I mean, who not to bring in the district? We have a lot of pastors, a lot of youth pastors, a lot of people that can come and speak. In every area, we can do an event each month. It just depends, like, okay, what is my focus really as a person, as a youth leader, as a youth, as admin? Like, it's a lot of time that we could put, but if it wouldn't really get us nowhere if our purpose is to actually like have a lifestyle according to what we preach, you know. Just get-togethers and.
I feel like it'd be really exhausting, not just for like
Yeah,
the leadership.
well, that's the thing. It would be exhausting if you're trying to carry, like, let's say your local church, the local work, right? That's why, yeah, we could do more events, right? And yeah, they're fun, but it's like, okay, I'm investing so much time into something, and I'm taking away from my local church. It's like, I need to make it worth it, right? And it's like, my local church needs a lot more, demands a lot more, and it's just more important many times, you know. That's why I said it just depends where your priorities are, because you can make it possible, but at the same time, each month you're just getting ready to attend that one service, or every 2-3 months you're just focused on that one event, and like, where's your head into what we were actually called for?
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like it could, even having so many events, I feel like could dilute a little bit, because then people just get stuck in that kind of like get stuck in like a kind of routine, you know what I mean? And I feel like if you start flooding a calendar full of events, then people just get tired. You know?
Yeah.
It's
Like,
really tiring.
sí, de por sí, ahorita, like, with the cell system, it's a lot.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. If you take it seriously, like, if you're actually adapting it completely, you don't want more district events.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want.
In fact, the argument is to remove the district events
Yeah.
as a result of it.
I don't know for youth though. I think the youth would be the same, right?
There's a lot of opinions in here, but because the cell system already demands so much, the argument is remove district events and focus only
Yeah.
on cell groups.
Yeah, and it's not really the cell system. Like, that's the organizational way to call it, but I'm gonna get all with the Great Commission. No, but like, if we really, I don't want to get all like deep, like, but
It's here.
no, it's just that, you know, like if we really pay attention to what should be at the center, which is like obviously Jesus, right, God, but it's like, okay, what were we called to do? The Great Commission. Great Commission, you access that through your local church, working with people. You have to have somewhere to bring to like, you have to have a place where you can tell people about, and that's your local church, right? In your local church, that's where you have the ministries and in different areas where you can grow as a person, but that's not the priority, you know. And then there's district. I feel like district should be like, you know, let's celebrate all together because we're doing this work, right? Or let's prepare ourselves because we want to do this work better. It's not the work.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And I feel like it's more intimate too, right? I mean, like, because the district event, so many people,
A lot of pressure.
a lot of pressure, and then you don't have the opportunity like to really
Talk to everyone.
talk to everybody. So
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the importance of like.
Yeah. That's okay because, again, it's not the important part. Yeah.
Would you say you have a good relationship with most of the youth?
Yeah, I feel like I do. I say I feel like because I don't know everyone, and I can't say everyone likes me, but I'm pretty just there.
Do you
So
know most of them?
I feel like I do. I feel like I have an idea of each church, if that makes
There's
sense.
a lot of new people.
There,
a lot of young ones.
there is a lot of new people. I feel like I know a lot of the new people, but not everyone.
Okay.
So I know the ones that've been here for like 10 plus years, right?
The OGs.
The OGs.
The OGs.
But I also know people who have, again, they didn't come because of district events. They came because of local church work. So I know people that are new to the church too, just not everyone. Yeah.
All right, circling back a little bit. So I have a question. But kind of where this question is rooted is that I've heard this most of my life, right? But more recently, I had the opportunity to talk to, you know, a child of a pastor, not from here. And we were talking, I was just talking with him, he was like, hey, like, so what do you do in your church? My man basically said he's in everything. I don't know how, but he's in multiple places at once, working with the praise team, and also working with kids, and working, man, my man is in everything, right?
Yeah.
And I asked him, wow, like that sounds like a lot. He's like, yeah, but I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, I have to. You know, I mean, it's the job of being you know, un hijo de un pastor. And me being a hijo de pastor, and you know, kind of knowing that you are one as well. My question to you is, did you ever feel that kind of pressure because of the position you're in of being, the daughter of a pastor, to have to take that leadership role?
Well, in district, no.
No?
Like, it's like, it was just offered to me. And I knew that it wasn't because I was a pastor's daughter, Because I'm like, there's a lot of PKs out there, and, we're not all involved in the same thing, so we don't have experience in all that stuff. I think it's more like in the local wise, yes. Because that's where you actually know the people, right? Your local church, they know you. Believe it or not, they observe a lot, and you also know them. You're with them. You're always there. And I feel like there has many times been like the pressure of like just doing things, of like making church work a priority. Not God, but church work. That's a huge thing, because, and I was thinking about this the other day, and I told my youth, I told them I was in a MEP with them, like Reunión de Planeación, and I was telling them, like about priorities, right, and all that, and I told them, sometimes we can think that church work is God, and it's really not, and I realized that one time when I was praying, and I was really asking for something, like I had a necessity, and I was like, like, this is really pushing me down. It's weighing me down a lot. And like, I need to see you there. I need to see your hand move, because I've put you in first place in my life. But in mid-prayer, I was like, wait a minute. Like, it was the most deepest realization of like, I haven't, like, he's probably second place, third place. Like, in that moment, I was like, but really, number one is church work, and that's not the same as God. So when, like, as a PK, and they're like, oh, can you help us out with this, or can you do this? And majority of the time, it's like my parents, right? So it's like, I don't really see it as my pastor, I see it as my parents, and it's like, I always want to help them, right? But there does have to be like some kind of limit to like, okay, is this getting in the way of like my real priorities? Like, is this getting in the way of God? Am I confusing these two? Just because I'm always there, I'm always working there. So, yeah, I mean, there is this pressure of like always showing up, being there, saying yes, it turning out good too, like not just doing whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel the same way.
Yeah.
It's always that kind of unnecessary pressure that we just kind of put on ourselves. But I think even not people that aren't PKs, it's like people seeing the need of like always having to say yes to responsibilities within.
It has a lot to do with like the church. I mean, the church necessities. Because if you're a PK and you sing all right, like me, like really, if you just know because you just known for years, like I'm not a really good singer, like my voice is not so good, it's okay.
Demo?
It's okay. And I only know a lot about music and how to do it. I know a lot because I've been there like since I was born with my dad, with my family. So I know a lot about it, but I'm not really good. So, but I don't have a lot of pressure to sing or let's say, be a part of it if there's so many good singers at church. Cause like, hey, that's what God called them to do. Like that's their spot, that's their place, and they need to grow there because they're good at this, right? But if there's no singers, which like it's happened before, our church has gone phases where it's literally sometimes it's just my dad, me, and like that one faithful drummer, like, or me, my dad, my sister, all of that. So yes, the necessity is bigger, which is like I'm kind of embarrassed because I'm not that good at singing, but no one else, like the church needs it, so yes, I'm gonna do it. Even though it can be embarrassing because you're not so good at it, and because you feel pressure to do it because of the necessity. So it has a lot to do with the necessity, and also with the person, because we all see everything. There's not everyone sees a necessity and wants to feel it even if they can. Not everyone has the same pressure, and it's something we can superficially see many times. Everything gives fruits. So yeah.
Did you watch the past podcast? The past episode?
I watched a clip and I liked it. Did
you subscribe?
I follow you guys. I watched one clip you guys put, and I liked it. And I'm gonna be honest, I probably went into YouTube link and I liked it too, but I didn't watch it all.
Hey, at least you liked it.
I wanted to show my support, but I was like, you know what? I can't watch it right now. Like I like showing my support, but it's like just hey, I was praying, they don't ask me about it. I like it and exit out.
Okay, I asked because there was something that the brother said on that episode, which reminded me. Something you said right now reminded me of that. He said that when it comes to our gifts, his opinion is that because the Spirit is one, then we aren't really assigned one specific gift, but rather we're given them all together, or we have access to all the gifts, and then there's one that is strongest. So you were saying that you might have the ability to do everything or to do multiple things, but if there's someone better than you, then you shouldn't really be focusing on that. You should go for what you do better or what you feel more inclined to, maybe. What truly interests you. I don't know a better way to phrase it. You understand what
I
I'm
get what
saying?
you're saying. Like kind of maybe not always pursuing where God called us, but kind of trying to fit ourselves into a different ministry, maybe. Is that what you're trying to say?
Or kind of basing it off of the situation. Like for example, if there's like 6, 8 singers up there, they don't need me because even though I can do it, right?
Right, if you can do something better,
right.
Go do what you can do better, right?
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're asking. I feel that God makes it very evident where your place is. You know, even when you yourself don't know or you're kind of confused, like He makes it evident to the people around you. Like somewhere or the other, you get somewhere and you're like, okay, this is what I was called to do. And yes, you can do a lot of different things. You know, I don't feel like people in church are limited to like, oh, you can only do this. No, especially when it comes to like los dones, right? Because, and I was telling this to some leaders this week. I told them, we were talking about the ministerios, right? We were talking about ministerios de templo, like singing, ushers, everything you see, right? Everything that's projected. Then also we were talking about ministerios like being a teacher, like kind of like esos dones, you could say, more likely. Sometimes you study something and you can bless the church with it, or maintenance, all of these things. And then there's the dones that are like spiritual, right? Like healing, prophetic, all these things that we tend to like spotlight in a sense. And I told them, but the cool thing about simply not just being in church, but simply just being a child of God that received the Holy Spirit is that section of spiritual traits and gifts, it's not limited to certain people. Like we can all access these. Like yes, there's people that God uses more a lot on healing, on prophetic stuff, but we can all do this. Like this is not limited to what we don't know or what we do know or what are our capabilities. We all have access to just use these at some point in our lives, right? And I feel that when we're trying to find a spot in church, definitely don't put yourself in the box of it. Like don't limit yourself of like, if you're really good at singing, but you go to a church that there's already like 6, 8 singers up there and they're really strong, don't be like, oh, they don't need me there. No, you were called for that. There's gonna be a place open for you. Like you're gonna be able to do, it's a lot of it has to do with teamwork. Teamwork, huge thing, right? Because you could be really good, but if you're not, if you're clashing a lot, it's like you're not clashing with the people, you're clashing with the ministry that God put, that God already established and has prepared for you.
Can't work together.
Yeah, and I feel like it's just a matter of actually finding what it is that God calls for you and being able to work with anyone within church. If you're talking about the ministries, if you can have teamwork and just really just be a child of God with everyone else, really. It doesn't require like to be charismatic or friendly. Just if you can work with people and know what God called you to do, you'll be fine. Even if there's like 10 singers up there, you're gonna be able to grow there because that's your calling.
Would you say you feel that you are currently where you belong, or you're going towards where you belong?
I think I'm going towards there, you know. At the moment, in my local church, I sing and I help like with the office. I'm secretary, so like any kind of paperwork, right? But I feel like there's always like more to everything, because again, these are ministries, right? These are part of the church work, you know, in a sense. It's not part of the calling. These are just avenues for it, but so I feel like I'm not necessarily where I'm gonna be at always, but I feel like I'm getting there, right?
You don't feel, have you ever felt, well, I'm sure you have, but let's say more recently, have you felt that you have deviated from the path, or you've gotten distracted to where you need to get back on track in any of your roles? Like, let's take worship for example, right? Although it doesn't really apply here, but just as the example, you started to sing and then you realized, oh, what am I doing here singing when truly that's not where I'm supposed to be?
Well, I feel like it really just depends. Well, it doesn't really depend. Like, the ministry I've always been in growing up is a worship team. Like I've always been there, like since forever. Like I would even go out of my way, and not really me, but yes, me. My parents with my siblings, because we're not that much years apart, they would practice songs with us at home, and we were like 4, and we would present them at church. We were those kids, right? We were the Paz de Cristo, hermanos. Like it was adorable now that I think back, but yeah. Anyways, I have pictures. I don't know if there's videos.
Gotta send them in.
Just like, hey, they're like in the screen, like. I have pictures, and it's like if I looked at them, I'd be like, oh my God, it's so adorable, right? So, I've always been there. Like I joined the worship team when I was like 9. I was in Chandler, and again, learning a lot because the singers that were then, they were so good. Like they were very good singers. Like they sing so good, and I'm pretty sure they even muted my mic. Like, and I hope they did.
That's crazy.
I hope they did. Like I really hope they did, because like I would have ruined it. I really would, right? And I was just there observing a lot and learning a lot. And when we changed from Chandler to Phoenix, I also like kind of like within the month or two, actually no, it took more time because we were kind of unsure if we would stay there. So, you know, once we were like, okay, we might as well participate, join these ministries, it was like within like 4 months, let's say. I joined the worship team, and I've always been there since. And I really enjoy it. I'm not the best singer, but I really enjoy it. And I feel like I'm good at making like, at working with people, like teamwork and all of that, companionship, sportsmanship, right? But there was a point where I was like 14, and I was like, you know what? The change from Chandler to Phoenix really messed me up, I thought, because I was like, dang, like Chandler had a really good team, right? And they still do, like till this day. And I feel like mentally, it's like if I wanted to envision myself still there, if I would have never left, I would have been like singing at events, right? And you think church work, right? I would have been singing at camps. I would have been singing at national, right? Because I had all the experience, I had all the skills, right? And I mean, I was everywhere we've been, my dad, my family, us, we've always been like a foundation there of like just consistent people that stay, right, and work. So I was like, if I would have stayed at Chandler, that would have been the line I took, right? But then I'm like, well, I wouldn't have been treasurer, right? Because the necessity of where we were placed is what brought me to, you know what, the leadership, right. Be a leader, you know. So you think about all of these things, and that's when you're like, okay, but what is really my calling then? Like it was a very like confusing moment of like, am I just being a leader because of the necessity, or what's going on? Like, was I supposed to actually just take the line of worship and grow there? But like many times, God has confirmed to me like I wasn't gonna grow there. Like I'm really good at helping others, guiding them in that because I've been there like my whole life. But it wasn't the line He was gonna take with me, and neither was a leadership really. Like, because again, that's church work. Those are church positions. I feel that the line that I most heavily, well, it was honestly the only path that I've ever felt that I'm like, oh, this is like a calling, but it weighs you down a lot because it's a lot of work. You know, it's like, oh, I have a lot to do until I get there, if I get there, right? Is when I started studying at ASU, I was doing journalism, right? Because that was the avenue that I wanted to be able to work in the Middle East. I don't know if I've told you about this.
I've heard.
You've heard.
Yes.
Okay, you've heard. Yes, I'm taking a minor in Arabic studies, language, the culture, the religion, right? And I've always wanted to work there, and I've always wanted to help. Not really help, I'll be honest. It wasn't like, oh, you know, like I have a compassionate heart. I believe I do, but that wasn't really the key. I really wanted to bring out the stories of lots of situations that go on around there, far beyond like, oh, terrorists and Fox News and all this. I really wanted to bring those stories and like kind of project them and kind of like be the mediator which these people can just share everything. And I thought, oh, journalism is perfect. I mean, a journalist goes and asks and they write it up and they share it, right? But when I was in that Arabic class and I was like making friends and stuff, right, talking to a lot of people, I remember I came home one day and I was talking to my mom about it. And till then, I had never really felt a very heavy calling on something. Just like, again, necessity, so you attend, so you show up, you fill in the empty spaces, right? But when I came home that day, I told my mom, I was telling her about my classmates, right? And how, I mean, the Arabic studies, it's very heavy on religion, on Muslim, Islam, all of that. And I was telling her, you know what? The more I study it, because in the Arabic class, they teach you religion as well. You just have to learn about religion, because the language itself is so tied with religion, like so tied, like again, phrases that you're like, oh, if you say that, you're categorized as a Muslim, right? So if you want to seem atheist, because there's no other way, right? There's no Christian way. If you want to seem atheist, say this, right? Or atheist and other things, right? Like Christians. But because the language is so tied to the religion, I learned a lot about their religion. I learned a lot about their perspective, how they think, what exactly do they believe in. And I told my mom, I was like, you know, the more I learn about this, the more easier my mind is just blown of like, how the heck are we limiting ourselves to just the people around us? Like, I told her, sometimes we as Christians, and even here in the church, we make jokes like, oh, try evangelizing a Muslim, right? Because that's like that's like the final boss or something. Like,
Please don't get into this.
anyways, but all like gaming terms. I just imagine like the little tab with like the progress of, anyways, but we think that we have like, it sounds ugly, but you know, we're all very ignorant, including myself, right? Of like, okay, what is it that they really believe in, you know? Because I told her, the more I know about this, the easier it seems to literally tell them the truth. Like, I thought that being close to that kind of environment and culture and everything, I thought that was gonna like sort of like oppress me a little, or like pressure me into like, oh, you know, like what they believe in is very strong and it's very heavy on them, and they're very convinced of this. But if anything, it really opened my eyes and said, you know what, they don't have what I have, you know, and how can I, the more I know about it, the easier it feels tell them the truth. And the easier it feels to not argue, but debate, right? Discuss, right? The easier it feels to literally say, bro, like that's such a lie. Like, and you know, but it's like the more you know, the easier it gets to literally just show them. Like, you don't even have to tell them, right? Because they believe in the Old Testament, right? They believe in Abraham and Isaiah, the prophet, right? So it's like literally just take Isaiah's words and show them, because Isaiah says everything. And once you get them past that, they're gonna believe in the New Testament. And once you get them past that, they're no longer Muslim. Like, and it's like when you realize this, it's like, dang, like I don't know. That was the only time you could say that I felt like very weighed down on me. And I was like, and I kind of figured out like, oh, I was called to know and not just like, oh, share in a very ignorant way, like Jesus loves you and like you guys are wrong. No, it's like, okay, let me take what you know, because in between there's a little bit of truth, and we're gonna take that line, right? Because they believe in Prophet Isaiah. So that's kind of the time that I felt like.
This is pretty recent, right?
Yeah, it was recent. Yeah, because it was this year, I believe. You know, because I barely finished my freshman year, so it was this year that I was like, wow, this is much more than just like, and not because I consider it higher, but I just consider it God. You know, like this is much more than church work or a church position. This is something that like I want to pursue in any place I'm in. Like, is it my career? Is it something secular? Is it with the church? I don't care. I have to follow this line one way or the other. And I've kind of been following that. I know I can't jump into it right away. You know, I'm not gonna take a flight to the Middle East right now, right? Like, I understood that there's a preparation, there's steps, right? So I'm currently working on just preparing myself to be able to learn more and just hear people out a lot more, especially in that area of the world. Yeah.
I think this is the power of knowledge, because honestly, first of all that's amazing what you just said, because I think that's really powerful. Like, to know, I feel like sometimes we don't fully grasp and understand that. Like, it's good to know about these other cultures,
Yes.
about these other religions, because, like you said, that's how we're able to understand them and then be able to show them
Yes.
the gospel and explain it to them in a manner that they can understand.
Yeah, because in class, actually, there's these two Egyptians, and they're Christian. So I was so like shocked, because for the longest time I was the only Christian there, you know. And sometimes they would bring up Jesus, because again, language is heavily influenced with religion, and they would talk about Jesus as like the professor itself. I feel like he's atheist because he's a professor. He doesn't really like say, oh, I'm atheist or I'm a Muslim. I feel like he's not a Muslim because of the way he would reference Jesus, but I don't feel that he's Christian, because in lots of ways it's like he doesn't believe in Jesus, you know? He doesn't believe in it, but he knows about it. So sometimes he would reference Jesus of like, oh, for, I don't know how to say it in English, in Arameo, right? It's a very dying language, and he would point that out, and he's like, oh, it's the language of Jesus. And classmates around me, they'd be like, oh yeah, the carpenter, you know? They would really dimming it down, right? Of like, it's not Jesus, the carpenter. And they would laugh, right? And they would laugh. And I think it was one time they were like mentioning like Muhammad and stuff. And I remember I raised my hand. I was being very petty, because this is like second semester. I've already had enough of these people kind of stuff, you know? And and I raised my hand, and I'm like, Muhammad? I was like, and they're like, yeah, you don't know who Muhammad is? And I'm like, wait, where is he right now? And then they're like, no, it's because he died a long time ago, and this and that. I'm like, no way, I thought he was eternal or something. And then they're like, no, he died. And I'm like, dang it, you know, I thought this whole religion was based on something eternal. And then it was like, I shouldn't have said that, right? But I should have. I'm happy I said that, but I was being so petty, and they all kind of like, that stared me, and they're like, no, and then they started speaking Arabic, and I didn't understand it. Like, I'm in the class
That's
learning,
wild.
but they're fluent speakers, right? They're just there for the credits. So they just started like ranting on, and I'm like, anyways, and the teacher was like, you know, like trying to calm it down. But I was really like, I don't know, I feel like it's funny, but just I feel like being a Christian in a surrounding like that, obviously don't be petty all the time, right? Don't do that. But I feel like it's so much more than just like trying to tell people, oh, you're wrong, you know. Again, I was being really petty, but it's also like, well, it's just truth, you know, like let's look at like you make them think, oh wait, you know, like, yeah, I don't know.
We're gonna proceed to a quick bathroom break. Okay. We'll be right back. We're back. Thank you.
I didn't think you were actually gonna. I
was serious. It's because I drank the Celsius.
Oh. Well, it's okay. She got to eat her nuggets. She got to eat her nuggets.
Okay.
Discussed sauces.
Yes. Yeah.
What were we on?
This is my breakfast and lunch, so
Oh, that's so bad.
that is bad. But hey, it's one of those days.
I guess.
Well, going back to your overall calling, and at least where you're at right now, with your leadership role, how does it feel to, I guess, how do I want to phrase this? To lead people like that are really close in your age, or even like older. How does that feel?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know, because I kind of got over that like a few years ago, you know? But I feel like, if I remember correctly, initially it was like, I didn't want them to know, you know, because like, I wanted them to take me seriously, you know? But now it's not something I think about, you know? I feel like, I mean, I'm 18, so I don't have like years of experience, you know? I can't say, I've looked back at life, you know, no. I've gone through the years, no, like the years, looking back is like 9 years old, you know, so. But I feel like now that I kind of like know a little bit about life, the passive life, you find out that it's really not about the age, it's not about how much time, how much experience. That helps a lot, you know, because again, I had the same perspective in a sense, like towards the ministry and working with the youth. I've always had the same attitude towards it like I did a year ago, right? But a year ago, I didn't know what I know now, so I do my job way better now. So experience does matter. However, when it comes to simply taking on the role, it really depends a lot on a person, you know, because I'm close to people that have worked with the youth for years, and they've never taken on a role like the one I'm in. And not necessarily because it hasn't been offered to them, but because it's just not their area, not their calling to lead in that level, right? And not necessarily like, oh, that level. It's more like all the things, you know, like it requires a different leadership, because as a district treasurer, I'm not gonna check in with Misael about his spiritual life, you know, or I know, right? It's a bummer,
I
but
thought you would as a friend. I would expect her.
you know, it's a lot of, you know what, that's him, and I'm just here to make sure the work is done. You know, I'm just here to keep it together, right? Organize and, you know, and just help out, you know, in whatever I can. But that's something, it's like in my mind, I'm like, you know what, I think about this a lot, because sometimes we do have to sort of help guide a few youth, majority in the leadership, right? That's the thing. We're not going to guide individually youth in the district, just like 800 of them. So we're not going to do that. But it's like, okay, our promotores, our leaders, you know, like people our staff that we work with, we want to make sure they're okay, right? But again, there's also a limit, because it's like, well, I'm not their parent, I'm not their pastor, I'm not their youth pastor, I'm not their youth leader. So many positions that are much more closer that you can call them. You can be like, hey, let's go get some burgers this Friday, right? And let's talk, right? So that's something I can't do, right? I can't do that with him, right? Or with you, or with any other person, because then it would be considered a personal date, right? A personal like get together, because that's not part of my role. And I feel like many times there's people that are really good at working with the youth, but again, not at that level because they're better in something much more intimate, much more like, I like treating with people firsthand. I don't like just supervising and just making sure everyone's okay and making sure really that the event turns out good. That's really what it is, right? That's why I feel like positions like these should really all be about organization, right? Because, and someone that's a good leader as well. Not really someone that's like, really like deep into like, he's really good at trading with the youth. I would much rather have that person one-on-one with them than just supervising and not being able to do anything.
So you would say your position is more administrative than personal, right? Altogether.
Yes. Because you could only get personal with, like, let's say the coordinator, the secretary, because you're both in that line of work, or the three of us, we're both doing the same work, so we can kind of go with each other of like, this and this and that, or like, help me out here, or whatever it is, or is something wrong, right? Because you're both there, you're in the same room, and also with promotores, right? But not really, because they're all so far away, like, and unless you're best friends with someone, then you don't really know what's going on, So, again, like, I feel like this position is purely administrative, and it's really good to have good people that are good in organizing and leading, and again, those skill-wise, good. Because at the end of the day, that's the work you do, You don't treat the youth one-on-one.
Right.
Like, my wisdom is not going to each youth. My wisdom, right? My wisdom, but I know my experience, my personal experience, they don't know about it, because it's just not my place to share.
If your position is purely administrative, then, and if you have a general vision towards where you want to work, then wouldn't you require those personal relationships with not necessarily the 800 youth, right? But at least with the people that are directly leading those 800 youth, to make sure that you all get to the same place you're trying to get to?
Yes, yeah. I talked about it this week with Denise, and Hector. We were talking about that. We were like talking about sort of checking in with the leaders, right? I can't say what we're planning, but top secret. But we've always been interested in like checking in with them primarily, specifically the promotores, just because they supervise. It's like, like the chain, right? But because again, they're leading as well, and if anything, they need way more support than we need, because again, they're doing the one-on-one, so we aren't. They know exactly what goes to camp, what goes to these pre-camp events. Like, without them, there's nothing for us to prepare for, because if there's no youth, if there's no one-on-one, no leaders keeping the youth on check, right, helping them walk and just show up, then our events are empty. And they're doing all the work, in a sense, to make it happen, to make it flourish. So, yes, we do care a lot about checking in with them, and maybe not on a personal note. I'll be honest, I've never texted a leader and be like, hey, how you been lately? How's been the week? Like, no, I do that probably with people that are close to me, right? But definitely be available to them in anything, especially with the registrations right now. That's, again, it's a lot of administrative work, and you want to be the most friendly and like open as possible, and just be there for whatever they need, because again, like, they're the ones doing the one-on-ones, and maybe you can't cross the line and talk to the youth, or even cross the line with them, because again, you're not their pastor, you're not, again, even with them as leaders, you just want to make sure that you're there available for whatever they need. And they're leaders, so they also have the capacity to go with the most correct person if they need something. Yeah.
So
within, so you said that you at least check in with the people that you're closer to right now. Those are the people you typically, check in with, see how they're doing and stuff. Now, have you ever been in a kind of like a situation where, like, with these friendships that you have, where, I don't know, you get in kind of like an awkward situation because maybe you being the leader, you have to correct them or kind of guide them, right? But then you're also like, before you were a leader, they were your friend. Like, is it ever getting to that kind of like awkwardness kind of situations like that, or not really?
Well,
You need a good story,
so this one time, no. I mean, locally, there's a lot of things. It really just depends on the leader. Some leaders are more confrontational than others, and they have every right to, Sometimes they're like, who do they think they are? They're your leader, If your parents won't do it, if they see it and they won't do it, and they have you right there in their house, you want someone else looking over you as well. Some leaders are more confrontational than others. I've never been in a position where I personally have had to confront it because, again, I'm probably a little bit less confrontational. I'm really blunt and real with people. Like, if they know me, they know I don't sugarcoat things. And that's a lot with the people I'm close with, right? But, again, there's situations where it's like, oh, you know what? I would much rather speak to the pastor about this. Because, again, how I said, experience kind of does matter because maybe I'm not going to carry the situation the best way because I've only lived so much with working in this, right? And I feel like with district, it's a little different because it is our job many times. Recently, we did a little bit of that, and it's like, again, we're not their pastors, we're not their youth pastors, we're not their parents, And each church is different, even though it shouldn't be, right? And because we should all project one lifestyle. However, because as admin, we have various teams, various areas, and we want as many people to involve and participate, we don't automatically look at someone and say, oh, no, not that person because of this, right? There's reasoning always. If we know that's the calling of the person or that's their area, we want to give them the opportunity without compromising what we preach, right? And many times it does require for us to reach out and be like, hey, you're not really projecting what we preach, but we know God called you for this, so let's work on that. And that's kind of where, that's probably pretty much as close as admin gets to ever like correct or discipline. It's not really discipline, it's more like reminding them of what they should already know. And that's where we can be inclusive, right? Without compromising what we preach. Because at the end of the day, like, what's the point of planning all this and trying to deliver a message if we can't project it in every area? Yeah.
That's fair. In your past, we're all limited to this pastor.
Yeah.
Just anything under one of your leadership roles. What's one of the mistakes that has taught you the most? It doesn't have to be a big mistake, but something that truly impacted you to improve for the next time something like that came about. Nothing. She's done everything wrong. She's done everything. Look at that.
I'm trying to think which one to say.
Trying to expose her.
Well, there's a lot actually. I don't know. What about you guys? I mean, right away, like the one that pops in my mind every time, if we're talking about like district, is last year camp. The registration was like a mess, and one of my biggest mistakes was not being more firm on certain things that I needed. Right. Do you guys want to take it from the personal aspect or just admin or leadership?
Well, let's say last year registration was bad, right? This year it's going to be good, but how is that going to teach you for the following
Yeah.
instances?
Yeah, well, because of last year's like mishap of not having what I needed, right? All this, this year it's like, okay, I know how to avoid, for example, a little promo, the camp waivers. Just like putting that out there. Don't forget. Just kidding. No, it's because.
Drop the link in the bio.
Yeah, drop the link in the bio, our camp webpage, our Steffi link. Just kidding.
In the description.
I'm kidding, guys. No. But last year, it's like, oh my God, like it was a huge mess. Not just with like, it wasn't a panic of like the leaders or the promos. I mean, they helped so much, but it was a panic with the campground. Because it's like, what do you mean we have like 620 people here and we only have like 300 camp waivers? And that's when you're like where did those other 320 go? So, and it has a lot to do with like, why the heck did we allow 320 people to enter without their camp waiver? So that's, and again, that all falls on, okay, let's do better, right?
So like
And
a lack of organization, a lack of being
I mean, if I'm
strict.
if I'm gonna be honest, it was our first camp, right? So we had organization-wise, like the theory was right there. It was all correct. The system was really well planned. We just lacked the attitude to be like, no, you can't come in without your camp waiver. And until you see the consequences that they don't feel, you're like, you know what? I do need to be strict, because even if they think I'm being a bad guy, right? Because they didn't bring their camp waiver for their 20 youth, right? It doesn't matter, because I'm going to present myself as an organized and good person in front of the people that do matter, which is the campground management, right? And everyone who actually depends on the payments and on these people, right? So that's kind of what this year we're like, you know what? Like, we want to help as much as we can right now, because once camp, the check-in day, it's like, what can we do if you didn't bring your camp waiver, if that makes sense? So it's like, that was kind of a big faulty issue, because if the camp waivers wouldn't have been missing that many, then there would have been no freak out with registrations like happened last year. And again, it doesn't fall specifically on one person or on a group of people. It just falls on like, you know what, we lack the attitude to like ask for that or be more strict on that.
How did that impact you then for
Well,
the future?
I mean, well, now it's like, that's something I announced, like, I think it was this past Sunday. I was like, camp waivers, and I pinned the message on the WhatsApp group chat. I was like, here you guys go. And now it's like, okay, I know that I need to be more on top of the gate, right? Not me personally, but I need to make sure that the gate is not allowing people without their camp waiver. Like now it's like, now my registration team knows exactly what to look for, and they're prepared for the worst case scenario, and now they know exactly what to ask for. And I mean, the leaders as well, now they know that you need your camp waiver.
Outside of only camp itself, how did that impact you for the future?
Well, now it's like you learn to work with people, it's a huge thing. Many times people take it in the wrong line. Many times people, as they're learning, they become bad guys, you can say, because then they're like, no, people never do this, or, like, no, you don't know them. You got to be strict with them and don't care if, no, it's like, you can either take these things as like, as to let them affect you, and suddenly like, oh, yeah, the leadership sucks and they never give you what you want or you ask for. Or you can be like, hey, I mean, it's in your control, your hands, to allow that to happen, because if no one enters a campground without their waiver, then the number is correct, 300 waivers, 300 campers inside, So it really just depends on how you want to take it. For me, it's like, now moving forward, that sometimes people don't show up, sometimes they don't give you what you need, what you ask for. But again, it all depends on you, how that affects you, because like at the end of the day, people can do so many things, or they can say so many things, but once it reaches you, it's like, okay, what do I do with this? Yeah.
And what about kind of growing in the sense of, I guess, spiritually, because I'm sure it's a whole different realm now, because now more of that weight. So then how do you kind of handle all that spiritually? Like, what spiritual habits have you learned or kind of gained or kind of reaffirmed as you've kind of gone in this process?
Yeah, well, I told you guys earlier, like, I shared that with my leaders. I don't remember if it was this week or last week in the planeación, that a while ago I had gone through something, and I was like, like, what's going on, and mid prayer you realize, you're like, oh wait, I've completely neglected my relationship with God. And I feel like that I've learned a lot, that sometimes being in a leadership position, or just being in a space where it's like, oh yeah, she's Christian and she's a pastor's daughter, and yeah, look at her socials, like she's wearing skirts and she's apostolic, she's projecting that. Really, if you don't pay attention, all of that is actually going to push you away from what really matters. Like, even the good is going to, lead you to something. Only because you're not evidently sinning doesn't mean that you're not, because not neglecting your relationship with God is sinning. You're not doing what He wants, so you're sinning. But only because it's not like, oh yeah, she relapsed or something. Only because it's not like an evident, like, oh, did you see what she posted? Like, only because it's not something like that, it doesn't mean that you're not doing it. And I feel like I've learned a lot that you have to make space. You just have to, because again, you guys said we can do a lot of events during the year, right? And that's so exhausting. And the cell system itself, it can be exhausting. But the only way to stay the same, you can say, or have that consistency and not let the exhaustion get to you, not get burnt out pretty much, because if it's like, oh, work, school, church, and then my personal life, and then district, right? Because I have to be thinking of camp while these things are going on. The only way to not get burnt out is having that relationship with God. You just have to. And I feel like it's not something of like, oh, I don't know how people just don't. No, people just don't. I've just not, at some point. But you have that burnt out feeling, or you crash out, right? And you realize, okay, this is what I needed, or this is what I've been neglecting this whole time, right? So it does happen. But for me, what really worked to not just like wake up and then just, because I could have kept going, right? Because it's so easy to just get sucked up in like a secular routine, right? And again, you're not necessarily doing anything bad, right? Because you're going to church, you're working, you're getting the work done. Everything seems good, you're not projecting yourself in a very secular manner. However, what really helped me was kind of just putting my whole emotional life in God, like moving my emotional dependency from, because I wasn't emotionally independent, I was dependent on something specifically, right? Once you move your heart from there, or your emotions, and you're like, okay, let's reset, you kind of, I don't know, you kind of wake up in a sense, and you realize, I can't keep doing this no more, of just going on my routine and forgetting that there's a God, even though I work for Him, but I never really talk to Him. And once you put your heart and your emotions, and once kind of like your mood or your flow depends on God, that's when you're not talking to Him, or when you're neglecting that, you feel it a lot more. And it doesn't let you neglect that if your heart is there, because our heart is normally what pushes us to do so many things, right? And if we try as much as we can, because it won't always be perfect, it won't be a smooth, like, oh, let me just pick it up and put it, oh, okay, we're good now. No, it's so much, it takes so much to move it from one place to another. But once we are able to do that, that's when it becomes so much harder to neglect God, right? Because He's literally, like, our heart is literally right there, and we feel every single movement. I feel like that's kind of what helped me a lot, putting my whole dependency in God. Not me trying to intervene anymore, or trying to like, oh, wait. Like, sometimes you ask God for help, and I say it because of me, like specifically because of me. I asked God for help so many times in so many situations. And I remember there was this one specific situation where I was like, I really need help. Like, I needed to go my way here, like so bad. I stood a whole year or over a year stuck on something. Like, I was really stuck on it. I had no progress. And this is very recent, like, again, I was in a leadership position and I was doing all these things and everything seemed fine. And I wasn't like, what do they call it? Backsliding or anything. Like the term itself, right? But like everything seemed good, but I was stuck. Like spiritually, I was stuck because I kept asking God, oh, like help me, right? But at the same time, I wanted to go my way. And it was like that constant for over a year. And it wasn't until I said, you know what, like, it doesn't have to go my way, and it's not gonna go my way actually, right? And until I actually said, you know what, it was a very difficult and hard decision, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna move my heart from where I placed it because I'm not happy. Like the more I tugged at it and the longer I stood stuck there, like literally I know it's like a phrase or something. Sometimes people say, oh, like the light out of your eyes is gone, right? But like literally people around me would notice, like, you know what, you don't seem like, it's not that you've changed, you just seem like you're slowly like dying, like you're slowly like turning off, right? And you're not yourself anymore, but you're not someone different. You're not progressing. And when I decided, like, you know what, I have to take my heart out of there and moving it, again, it took like a whole year to move it. And once that happened, that's when, once I depended everything of like, I don't care how it turns out, I just want to be happy again. And even though I don't understand it right now, but I know whatever you want is going to make me happy. That's like, you have to, it has to be 100% like dependency on him, 100%. And many times some people get it right away, right? Of like, okay, whatever God wants. Or some people like me just get tired and literally physically and spiritually cannot keep going what they wanted. So for me, it took getting tired. Like I got so tired and I was like, you know what, whatever. Like it was everything to me. And suddenly that moment I was like, I'm too tired for it to be everything for me. And I moved it. And once I kind of said, I'm not gonna ask you for help anymore, just take care of it. And I'm not gonna do anything about it. If I lose it, then I lose it, you know? That's what really it took for me to start kind of realizing, you know what, everything, my emotions, my mood, my thoughts, they have to depend on him. It has to be. It can't be on the church or on a person or anything. Like, it has to be 100% God. And that's what really helped me. Like those moments of just me and God, and not necessarily praying for like 3 hours. No, it was like many times I would like get in front of the mirror because I have this huge mirror in my room, and I would just sit down on the floor and I would like talk to myself. Oh, crazy! Like imagine like a girl in the mirror just like talking to herself. Oh. Anyways, I would just like talk to myself, and then like the conversation would go from like me to God, and then from me to me, you know. And I would be like my own counselor in a sense. I would be like, no, like you have to do this, and like you can't keep doing this, right? And then I would be like, and then it would be like it's like if I was having a conversation with myself, me, and then God, and then it would just switch, right? And that really helped me to be like, you know what? And then the conversation would always end with me like, you know what? I just want to be happy. You know, at the end of the day, I want to be happy, and I can't make myself happy. I've tried pursuing what I wanted, and that didn't make me happy. And just do whatever you need to do. So I feel like really just confronting yourself, right? And like, again, some people it's right away. Some people it really takes them to get tired, you know, of like just fighting against God's will. For me, it really took that, getting tired, and then later on, like having those checkups with myself, with God, and like realizing that I can't do this alone, and church work is not the same as God. Yeah. Now everyone's gonna imagine me sitting in front of my room in my mirror. Anyways.
We're almost short on time, so I want to jump into this last topic. What advice would you give to young people, 13, 14, 15, who are already pursuing a relationship with Christ, and they're interested in growing to one day become a leader, one day enter the ministry? Stuff that you've learned from your personal experience, what advice would you give to that?
Well, there's always going to be a necessity wherever you are, you know. For me, it was right away church, you know. When we got to Phoenix, I mean, it was a very significant change of the church in Chandler, right, to the church in Phoenix. Seeing the necessity, if you fill in those spaces, you learn and you help yourself out. Many times, it can seem like tedious work because it's like, why doesn't no one else do it, right? But all of that is helping you out. You know, it's forming you one way or the other, right? Because I don't think if I wouldn't have like attended to the necessity, not the calling itself, because it didn't really feel like a calling. It was just like, well, I'm already here. They're expecting this of me, or they need this. The church needs this. If I wouldn't have tended to the necessities that there were, then I wouldn't have gotten myself. I wouldn't have known anything about how to like lead or simply develop that like neutrality. What is it? I don't know. Neutralidad.
Yeah.
Simply learn how to be neutral when you're leading, or a lot of skills, a lot of like traits that you develop along the way. If I wouldn't have attended to a necessity, I don't think I would have not just like been where I am right now, because it's simply a position. It doesn't define my personal development. However, I just don't think I would have the same perspective as church and serve the same way that I serve now. If I would have just paused on it and been like, you know what, I'm just 14 or I'm just 15, you know, and like I don't really need this right now, and I'm in school, right, and someone else can do it, then I would have probably tried to jump in now with the youth, right, try to help out knowing nothing, right, or simply in my local church, if I would have waited until I was like a good age, or let's be honest, if I would have waited until I found my voice, which would have been never, because attending a necessity helped me realize that I don't have a good voice, you know, so, but the necessity was still there, and I was still able to feel it. So if I would have just waited and not filled the spot that was empty, that was right there in front of me, I wouldn't have been able to do it or find out it was for me, or just, I wouldn't be able to do anything right now. Right now, I would have probably been in church, just there, clapping every Sunday, right? And not knowing where to go because I just don't know what I'm good at, you know?
Do you think you would still be just a bench warmer, although it sounds bad? Or do you think God would have placed another way for you to still grow the way that you have grown, even if it was later on in time?
Yeah. Well, God always puts a way, right? Sometimes even when we deviate from it, there's another way. Because again, His mercy. But I feel like if I wouldn't have attended a necessity, or if I wouldn't have simply realized, hey, you know, the church needs this right now, even though it's not my calling, then I don't think I would have attended even when I felt like it was, because all those things help you attend the calling that at the end of the day is yours. I don't know if that makes sense. Like filling in the necessities in my local church helped me because I know what I'm good at, and in between all of that, it's like once I get into the area of like studying, right, I know what I want to study, and I'm working with these people. I've already worked with church people. I already am knowledgeable of the church, right, because I'm involved in it and I participate and I fill in the necessities. Now it's like it facilitates for me to that when I hear God's calling or when it weighs down on me, I know how to say yes, because I've said yes to necessities before. Now that this is my calling, that it pushes a lot more, I can say it much more faster in a sense, or I just know how to do it now.
Or you know when to say no.
Yeah, or you know when to say no as well. I just feel like the big thing is filling in the necessities, you know, even if it's tedious or even if it seems like it's not for you, you don't know, you know.
And if you feel too young to be in that position.
Well, you would have to be like 7 or 5, you know, and even then there's positions that you could be there, you know, like I feel like too young, it's like, okay, can they talk, you know?
You think
You know?
a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old shouldn't say I'm too young to
They
be a leader of my small group?
They shouldn't, no, because again, it's like there's no requirements, of like no age requirements when you're serving God. Like there really isn't. And again, there's so many examples biblically that we can talk about, El Rey, Oseas, all that. Josias, I confuse it, but a lot of examples. David, we can get all biblical and like compare, the characters, the biblical characters, but really it's like if God is making a way for you or if he showed you something, you have to follow that because you can't expect to ever be ready or be in the correct age. That's never going to happen. Yeah.
Unfortunately, running out of time here. Dropped a lot of great stuff there. But I wanted to ask if you have any kind of a favorite Bible verse, maybe a nice phrase you go by, a motto, anything like that. One final word for the people that are listening.
Well, my favorite verse, I think this has always been my favorite verse, and it just changes, the meaning changes through every chapter, right, in life, but it's always stuck there, is Jeremiah 29:11. I don't know it in English, I know it in Spanish.
It's okay.
Yeah, like people are like, oh, recite it. I'm like, I'm gonna recite it in Spanish, but I feel like it's really what's like. Sometimes I say this a lot in meetings or with friends or with leaders. I'm like, oh, we're holding on by a thread, and that's me personally. Sometimes I'm holding on by a thread, but like the thread is the Bible verse because I'm like I have to. It's like it's really what's gotten me through a lot of remembering, and that always takes me back to the Bible. And the Bible takes me back to God, and it's just kind of like my key of like, you know what, where do I have to go to seek help? Yeah. You guys don't remember the Bible verse, that's what you guys are like.
Oh yeah, for I know the things I have for you.
Yes, there you go. Yeah. So that's always been like my backbone, in a sense. I've always trusted that. Yeah.
Well, I think we heard it here from our fearless leader. We're never too young to lead. There's always an opportunity. There's always going to be a need somewhere. It's just our decision whether or not we're going to fill that need.
Yes.
Any upcoming events or social media you would like to promote?
Just camp right now. Camp. The documentary series.
Oh yes, should announce that.
Right?
Documentary
But
series.
honestly, it's all under construction. I don't know if I should announce it or not.
Oh, so is this like a preview right here? Is this unreleased? A bombshell? A little bombshell moment?
It's in.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. I don't know. Eli doesn't know about it. Let me just
I
share
really
it.
don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna just share it with you. I'm gonna just share it with you really quick. So, we're working on a documentary series right now. It's called He Spoke Dash. The dash matters. Dash. Él me habló, because it's bilingual. It's a bilingual documentary. And it pretty much encapsulates stories. It's a series of interviews, you could say. Stories of how people, when they hear God's calling, they take it. But not only that, recently I actually spoke to Mano Pedro Marcos about it. I was talking to him about it, and he gave me like this, not a different line, but he kind of like fixed a lot of what was in my head about it. And he said, well, he's like, if you're talking about el llamado de Dios, you have to be very careful because el llamado de Dios is specific, and it's one calling to your life. But a lot of people, they do a lot of good things, right? You can be a pastor, you can be bishop. You do a lot of good things, right? But that's not what God wanted for you. So, yes, you receive the calling of, yes, I will serve the Lord, count on me. But what goes after of like when God calls you and said, this is where I need you or this is where I want to take you, do you actually accept that? Or do you just go and do a lot of good things? So I feel like this documentary talks a lot about, well, la trayectoria experience, path of these people when they said yes to God but also how it's been of actually following the calling. You know, not easy, not always the most ideal or convenient thing to do. That's what this documentary encapsulates.
Coming 2025?
2026 maybe.
2026.
Well, late 2025 maybe.
Late 2025, 2026.
Yeah.
Coming to a screen near you.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have you on once that airs.
What?
Maybe we'll have you back on once that airs.
Yeah,
Once
that
that's released.
would be fun. Yeah,
Talk about it.
that'd be fun.
Awesome.
There is gonna be a live interview to kind of a premiere everything. Yeah, we're working on
We're gonna
that.
have tickets for the, what do they call it? The first showing?
Yeah,
What do they call it? I can't remember.
I remember when I went to my first premiere, I was like,
Premiere. There we go. Like the first
Premiere.
time you see the premiere. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't catch it the first time.
when I went to my first premiere, I was like, I have to do one of these. Like, I just have to.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, I'm excited. Can't wait to
Very
see. Can't wait to see how it's gonna turn out. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nadia, once again. Very glad that you were able to join us.
I'm
Thank you.
very
for
grateful you
your
guys
time.
invited me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. We disturbed your meal. But
It's okay. I came from work and I had not eaten all day, and I was like, I have to eat.
Gotta get that protein. Protein.
Yeah, I was like, I know bulking season's over, but yeah. I mean, technically, I'm cutting, but in a very unhealthy way. Very unhealthy way because I did not eat all day.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
I do. I know.
Thank you to all our listeners.
Listeners,
Make sure
our
to
viewers,
subscribe. Yes.
don't just like and leave. Watch the video and watch the whole thing. And
Yeah.
we'll see you guys next time.
God bless.
God bless you guys.